YouTube? What's up? We're back. Another episode. Today we're going to cook something, and today we're going to cook a bacon wrapped poblano and jalapeno stuffed with cheddar cheese meatloaf. This has been kind of like a big trend on the internet for the past, I don't know, long while, a couple years maybe. But myself, I got into smoking food because I eat a ketogenic diet. And so all this food is like perfect because it's basically you eat meat, greens, butter, fat. So smoking all this meat is good for that. I did it previously, lost a bunch of weight, and we're back on it. So we're going to take advantage of eating high fat, low carb, and make this meatloaf. And it's going to be a bacon wrapped poblano, cheddar, jalapeno stuffed meatloaf. And I'm going to show y'all how we're going to do that. As you can see, the ugly drum right here is a little bit further along than y'all saw in the last video. We'll go over that as we're cooking, and we'll talk about what all I've done. See y'all in a little bit. I'm going to go inside and show y'all how we prep this meatloaf, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're inside, and I am going to start working on a bacon weave for wrapping the meatloaf. And this has been talked about hundreds of times on YouTube, so we're not going to go too much in depth. I'll just do a little bit of a time lapse for you guys. We could probably go with one more strip of bacon right here, but everything is frozen that we're not using right now. Everything is frozen, so we're going to go with this. Move over to the dry ingredients. I'm going to drag this over a little bit if possible. Probably wasn't smart. Here, let's get this out the way because we can mix the meat elsewhere. Alright, so I've got 25 or 26 ounces of meat, some salt, some pepper, some ground paprika. I think I put paprika in everything. And then lastly, roasted garlic and herb, just a touch of maybe some Italian. Also in keto, because you can't use a binder, I guess this isn't traditional meatloaf in that it doesn't have oats or breadcrumbs or something like that, but it works and it's good. But so next we're going to do Worcestershire, however you pronounce it. Leave it in the comments below. Just a touch of that. And then we're going to crack an egg and mix it up. Take half of this meat real quick before we get too far. Kind of form it down in here. And get us a rough shape for our meatloaf. When I said rough, I meant rough. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the bacon we've done. We've got a little bit of the meatloaf laid out. But we need our peppers. And I don't want any of the core or the seeds of these poblanos, and especially the jalapenos. So what I'm going to do is lay it out. Alright, so I've got the peppers in the oven to roast a little bit on 400. They won't take too long. I'm just going to get this fire started real quick. Load the coals, start the fire in the chimney, and then we'll go back inside, finish prepping everything, wrap it all up, and bring it out here and get it cooking. So we're back inside. Y'all don't make fun of my knife skills, but these peppers are not necessarily roasted, but they are letting out some of their juice, and that's really all I was going for, to get them started. And we'll finish them up here. We're going to load this thing up with some cheese now. We're not going to be bashful. We want this thing oozing cheese when it's done. Alright, now we are going to top it off with the other meat via this pan as a form. Just real quick, real rough. Now, let's see if we can get this thing wrapped up at all. I have a feeling it's going to be a pain, but it'll be worth it. Alright, so we've got our meatloaf built. The fire is starting outside. Let's go finish that up. I think I'm going for about 275 on a smoker and just cook it till it's done. So this is a bit of an experiment. It's going to be good, so let's go check on the fire. Alright, so we can see the fire starting, or in the chimney I should say. It's not on the chimney, it's in the chimney. So look at that. So that's only about a dozen coals or so. You can see the lid. Let's talk about this real quick. I mentioned the lid on the last video. We'll go into depth on this a little bit more, but basically I just used a nipple from the conduit section. It's a 2-inch nipple, and check out how that looks. And then you can see the rest of the smoker. I've got the 3/4 inch riser, and then the valves on the bottom that can be capped, and then I put a thermometer in it. So let's get these coals dumped on and the temperature ramping up, and then we'll throw the meatloaf on. Alright, so we're going to give those coals a few minutes to heat up. It usually takes about 15-20 minutes to really get anywhere. They just take time, that's all. I've had a couple issues with this UDS, the ugly drum smoker, since I built it, but I think I'm just rushing it. I'm used to this Traeger. Obviously it doesn't take near the amount of work. That's fine. I actually enjoy the UDS more. Gives a better cook in my opinion. But yeah, so we're gonna let that ramp up, grab the meatloaf inside, and then we'll come back out, throw it on. I'll give you all a temperature that I'm looking for and a temperature that the grill's at, and I'll show you all progress as it happens. Alright, there's the meatloaf. It's wrapped on just a pan waiting. The smoker is ready. It dropped a bit, but it was creeping up on 265. So we're gonna load this thing in and watch it cook for a while. Just let it cook for a while. Right in the middle. Just like that. Alright, so the smoker dropped down to around 200 because I was pretty slow putting that on. I wanted to show y'all. But it's already back up to 250, so I think what I'm going to do is close the ball valve and cut some of the air off right here. And see what that does. That may actually drop it too much, or it may not climb all the rest of the way. I want it to be 265 to 275 for 3 hours, or until we get to around 160 internal temperature. That'll be the bacon crispy, the beef medium. Should be good to go from there. We're cooking. I just got this Inkbird thermometer we're gonna test it out. All the smoking groups, the meat smoking groups, are going crazy over this thing because it's only 12 bucks. And like with anything, you tend to get what you pay for. So I'm curious to see how this thing does. I tested it in ice and it read about 32.7, which for most things, 0.7 is pretty good. I'm gonna open this back up, by the way. Got it cracked about halfway now. Let's watch if the temp keeps going up. Quick thing is it shuts off when it's closed, and as soon as you open it, it turns on. So if you're like me and you forget to shut off everything with a battery always, it's a nice feature. But we'll let this cook. I'll bring y'all back when it's about halfway done. So we started the meatloaf at 2 o'clock. It's now 3 o'clock, and I just pulled the lid on the UDS, and to my surprise, the meatloaf was already at like 163. So based on what I know, meat is done medium-wise around 160. So given that I take the lid off and let it rest and all that, and I gain 5 or 6 degrees, this thing's done already. So is it worth smoking one of these things? I couldn't tell you. Either it is, and I have a bad thermometer on the UDS and need to order a new one with probes and whatnot to sit on the grate, or I just completely misshot how long this thing should take. Either way, it's done. I'm gonna pull it off, let it rest, and then in a little bit I'll show y'all what it looks like cut open.